Hi guys, so this is my catfish story part 2, and this one is a little bit more serious than, you know, a regular catfish, whatever. It's a little bit more serious because I was young at the time. So here we go. So again, when I was about 14, kids in my school always used to get on this thing called a chat line, and I always ended up meeting someone around my age. So, that's why I didn't see it as a big problem. I'm just talking to people on the phone, and I didn't see it as being a problem, but it is a problem. It is a problem, but at the time I didn't see it as being such a big problem. But it is a serious situation because you don't always meet someone who is what they say they are. But I always ended up meeting someone around my age, like 15, 16, or 14, 13, somewhere my age, somewhere a little younger, but I always met someone around my age. So I thought, one day I was on the phone with this guy. I'm gonna call him Marcus. Actually, no, I'm not gonna call him a different name. I'm gonna call him his real name. His name was Maurice. So, Maurice was his real name, and I don't give a fuck if you see this, Maurice. But anyway, I was 14 when I met Maurice, and he told me that he was, I think, 17 at first. He told me he was 17. So, I was like, that's kind of old. I'm 14 at the time. That's kind of old for me. So he was like, no, we could just be friends and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm in the 11th grade, and I go to Hallandale High School. And, he's telling me all this. And I'm like, okay, well, we could be friends. And I would talk to him, and we talked for a long time, for 2 years. I used to just talk to him every once in a while on the phone, and I started to like him. So 2 years pass. I'm about 16, and he is what I think is 19. And he tells me, oh, I'll come pick you up from school. I'm in high school at this time. And, his voice, the way, because one thing I noticed that should have been a red flag for me, I didn't mention. When I first talked to him on the phone, I was like, you sound older than 17. He was like, oh, I just, I have a deep voice and blah, blah, blah. Should have been a red flag, but some boys hit puberty and they have really deep voices. My nephew has a very deep voice, and he is 16. So, but should have been a red flag, but I didn't have many friends, which is why I always used to get on the party line or chat line, because I didn't have friends. People mistreated the fuck out of me. And I think if I had better friends, I probably never would have got on the chat line. But you live and you learn. So I meet him one day, and I got in the car, and I turned to look at him, and I was like, you don't look 19. And he was like, oh yeah, I just look a little bit older and blah, blah, blah. So we drove around the block, and at this time I was like, nah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get out. So I said, I forgot I had told my mom I was going to help her with something, and, blah, blah, blah. So I get out of the car and he leaves. So he told me his real name. At this time, we had, internet. There was, I think, Black Planet at the time. I think it was Black Planet. Was there MySpace? No, it was Black Planet. And, I would look on Yahoo and I researched his name. I knew his real name, Arvin Morgan. And I searched his name, and the name that came up was the name of a man who lived in the area he told me, but he was 30 years old, 30 something. And I was like, I knew he did not look 19. Now, if I had not acted on that, God knows what could have happened, I don't know what could have happened had I not acted on the fact that I didn't believe him to look 19. I didn't believe him to look that age. So I got out of the car, Good thing I didn't let it ride enough for me to get out of my neighborhood, because people know who I am. They know who my uncle is, my crazy ass Uncle Randy. They know who I am. So, luckily I was still in my comfort zone of my neighborhood, if you get what I mean. So I spoke to him again and I said, you do not look your age, and I mostly just spoke to him to tell him off. I had been talking to him for 2 years on the phone and he was not who he told me. So I had stopped talking to him, and out of the blue one day he starts playing on my phone, and he called me and just be like, call yourself a filthy bitch and I'll leave you alone, and oh, you dumb bitch. And he'd play on my phone for 12 hours straight, like, because he knew that my mom worked on the weekend, and he would just call my phone, my house phone, all fucking day long and just, curse me out. And then it got so bad to the point I called the police. The police came to my house, and he would call. They answered the phone, and he didn't call anymore. They told him, don't call back, or, we'll trace it, and blah, blah, blah. All the stuff they tell to get him to stop, even though they wouldn't have done that. But so years go by. I get on MySpace. When I'm about 17, I think, or 18, I get a MySpace. So this is like 2 years later. I think nothing of him, nothing of Maurice or anything, but he messages me on MySpace. Oh, look, it's you, and oh, don't worry, I'm not gonna bother you. I just wanted to see how you were, and whatever. And I was like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. Don't bother me. Leave me alone. So after that happened, I blocked him from contacting me on MySpace. He made another MySpace and started to harass me again on MySpace. And oh, you ugly bitch, and oh yeah, I came by your house and I saw your mom, and oh, your sister this, and I did this, and I saw that. And he was like causing such a problem for me. Then he calls my phone, my house phone. At the time, I had a cell phone. People didn't call my house phone for me. So when he called my house looking for me, my mom was like, who is Maurice? And I was like, She was like, they calling for you on my phone. And she was like, I know people don't call the house for you, so who is that? I said, tell him I'm not here. So he called back again, asking for me again. And I spoke to him and I said, don't call me, don't call my house, you know, blah blah blah, leave me alone. So I guess, you know, he got tired and left me alone. Years pass. I get on Facebook. Now I'm on Facebook. I still get on MySpace every so often. I was like 19, 20, you know, because at the time I was about 18. So, you know, be a couple of years pass and he'd message me again. So he messages me again. And he's like, oh, you filthy fucking whore, and you know, and oh, you doing this, and I was nothing like what he would say, you know. And he would always like find me on any type of social network I was on. He would find me just to harass me. So the latest attempt at harassment was when I was pregnant with my daughter. Years passed. Now he had been harassing me since I was 16, 14, you know. We would have little fallouts like that, but I would be like, okay, you know, let's be friends again, you know, because I didn't have many friends at the time. So, you know, I would pretty much just deal with that, you know, that situation. So pretty much since I was 14 to 25, that's 13 years. I can't count. I'm not good at math. Hold up, I'm gonna do it. I'm sorry, I'm not good at math. Math is not my forte. Okay, 13, so like 13 years. Wait, 14, 11 years. I'm all fucking off. But from when I was, you know, 14 to 25, he harassed me. And I was pregnant with my daughter the last time he decided to harass me. He started to write me, calling me all types of dirty names. Oh, you bitch, and you know, whatever. I got so upset, you know, and especially since when you're pregnant, your feelings are very irrational sometimes. So I wasn't really putting up with no bullshit, pretty much is what I'm trying to say. I wasn't putting up with no bullshit. So I looked on the internet and I found out all this information about him. Found out he owned a store called Godly Cures, where he sold information about curing yourself with prayer, and you know, curing diseases and stuff like that with prayer and God. And he was a man of the cloth who was a pedophile, not to mention. So, which is why I felt like he didn't deserve the respect of me giving him a fake name. You know, I'm gonna say his real name. So one day I was at Winn-Dixie, coming from Winn-Dixie, and I was still pregnant, you know, with my daughter. But I'm skipping the story. I'm sorry. But yeah, I was on Facebook and he decides to write me, calling me all types of dirty names. I'm going back and forth. So I researched his name and I found a phone number under his name. I called the number and I kept calling. I'm like, y'all need to, you know, Maurice, you need to leave me alone. I'm gonna call the police. This is harassment. You have been harassing me since I was 14 years old. This needs to stop. You know, I was like, you are a fucking pedophile. And, you know, I'm going on and on like I wasn't having it, right? So he messages me and is like, you call my family's house and, oh yeah, bitch, I'm gonna tell your whole family. So he decides to go on my Facebook looking for anybody with my last name, telling them that I have AIDS and I'm a hoe and, you know, I'm all this. And I messaged people and I was like, you know, if you get a message about me, block that person. They are lying. You know, not what they're saying is not true about me. This person has been harassing me. He has pretty much been a stalker. So a few days after that, I went to Winn-Dixie. While I'm at Winn-Dixie, I see this person walking. And I was like, he was walking with someone. And I looked, I'm like, is that Maurice? So I called the name. I said, Arvin, which is his real name, his first name, Maurice. He turned around. Who is that? Who's calling me? He come to the car. And I looked at him right in his face. What's up? I'm like, what's up? I said, what is wrong with you? Like, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, why do you always harass me on social networking sites? Why do you do that? You find me on there just to corrupt my life. Why do you fucking do that? And he's like, you had a baby, you know, like being nosy, trying to look all up in my car. I said, I asked you a fucking question. Why do you do that? I said, you have been harassing me since I was 14. I'm 20 fucking 4 years old, 25. I was 24 when I had my daughter. I was like, I'm 24 years old. That's 10 fucking years you've been harassing me. Like, what is wrong with you? Oh, I just be playing around. And I said, playing? You telling people who know I'm pregnant that I have AIDS? And, you know, like, telling my family that? I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? I get out the car. I'm about to fight this motherfucker, pregnant and all. You know, like, you have, like, just fucking tried me. Like, he starts walking away, and I'm like, the next time you contact me, I took a picture of his license plate on his car too, the car he got out. Said, the next fucking time you contact me, I'm calling the police on you, and I am pressing fucking charges for harassment. I said, you have been harassing me since I was 14 years old when you were 30 something years old. I said, you're 40. He 40 something, like 44 right now, I think. 44. You know, and you've been harassing this young child since they were fucking 14, lying about your age, okay, and everything else, telling me, oh, I'm young at age but old at heart. Who does that bullshit? But he was a fucking pedophile. That's why. You know, God knows, you know, I wasn't stupid, but it's just the fact that if I had been stupid, God knows what could have happened to me. If I had just gone on with him, not recognizing this something was not right. You know, something is not right here. I'm like, no, this ain't right. Something ain't right. You know, he could have had a weapon, anything. I should have paid more attention before I got in the car, you know, but I immediately got out, and you know, it is what it is. But I sometimes like to keep track of him to see where he's at so I can keep one step ahead of him. If I decide to join a new social networking site, all of my stuff is, you know, private or whatever. If I decide to join a new social networking site, I search his name first and block him if I find his name on there, so he can't find me. I also Google searched his name and saw that he was arrested a couple of years ago for kidnapping, illegal imprisonment, and some other stuff of a pregnant woman. And I was like, wow, this motherfucker's crazy. And God was watching after me. And thank God nothing like that happened to me. But, you know, that is a learning experience for your ass. Because after him, I didn't get on that shit no more. Like, I was like, fuck this chat line. Fuck this shit. I'm not getting on it no more. You know, meeting that crazy motherfucker. I'm not getting on it no more. I mean, but I did meet a lot of nice people my age there, which was something a little bit crazy. You know, but there were a lot of kids on there my age. There were hardly any adults. There were adults on there, but when you tell them, hey, I'm 14, whatever, oh, you know, they don't talk to you. But you have those select few who are pedophiles and will lie about their age to talk to you. He was one of them. So, yeah, that is my second story of being catfished. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.